Breaking news. So far, the Ukrainian counteroffensive has seen steady gains despite heavy losses. Ukraine's counteroffensive launched this month has successfully recaptured several towns in the southeast, but the country's armed forces have suffered heavy casualties while trying to break through Russian defenses. Considering Russia has had months to strengthen its defenses across the 600-mile front, the progress being made despite the losses is surprising. Even though it's still early in what will likely be a long campaign, the results so far are encouraging for Ukraine. For the sake of maintaining support from Western allies and chastening Russian President Vladimir Putin, Kyiv is under pressure to retake large swaths of territory. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine told NBC News this week that the ongoing operation is difficult, but generally positive, highlighting the high stakes of the fight. If Russia loses this campaign to Ukraine, Zelensky argues, it will be game over for them militarily. This week, however, Putin presented an opposing viewpoint, saying that Ukrainians were experiencing a catastrophic defeat. Putin told a group of war correspondents, the adversary was not successful in any sectors, according to a transcript from state-controlled media. This is a huge setback for them. Putin also claimed that Russia lost only 54 tanks during the offensive, while Ukraine lost at least 25% of the combat vehicles provided to it. This included 160 battle tanks and over 300 combat vehicles. Supporters of Russia on social media have been promoting what they see as a failed offensive by posting numerous videos of the destroyed armor online. On Thursday, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin said, "There will be battle damage on both sides in the war," but he doubted Russian claims of widespread destruction of Western armor. "The Russians have shown us those same 5 vehicles about 1,000 times from 10 different angles," Austin said at a press conference in Brussels, Belgium. "But the truth is, the Ukrainians still have a lot of fighting strength." The United States expects the offensive to last for many months, and it has emphasized that Western allies will keep supporting Ukraine no matter what happens. Western officials and war experts, however, are keeping a close eye on these preliminary stages. Adjunct Senior Fellow in the Transatlantic Security Program at the Center for a New American Security Jim Townsend has stated that in the first phase of the counteroffensive, Ukraine is moving through entrenched defenses and minefields and probing for weaknesses. According to Townsend, this means that in the initial phase of the operation, Ukraine is going to pay a price in terms of vehicle loss, as it tries to pick through Russia's defenses. "The momentum really hasn't started yet," Townsend remarked. "We can't lose sight of the fact that they've had a lot of help and supplies up to this point, but that usually evaporates in the first few weeks of an offensive, so we have to keep pushing forward." More Bradley and Stryker infantry fighting vehicles are part of the $300 million aid package the United States announced this week for Ukraine. On Thursday, the Ukraine Defense Contact Group's defense leaders announced that their Western allies would be sending billions more dollars to Kyiv. Slowly but surely, Ukrainian forces are making their way through Russian lines in southern Donetsk and Zaporizhia in what appears to be an effort to capture Berdyansk and Melitopol and then push on to the Sea of Azov. If either city falls to the Ukrainians, a land link between Russia and Crimea is severed, putting Russian supply lines in jeopardy. Ukrainian forces have only been able to penetrate the periphery of Russian-occupied territory so far, but experts say this is just a wide probing of defenses and that once weak spots are found, they will deliver a much stronger punch in the months to come. This week, Ukrainian officials reported that their troops had freed 7 villages, including Lobkov, Levadny, Novodarivka, Neskuchna, Storozheve, Makarivka, and Blahodotne, all of which were located on the outskirts of the regions. Ukraine is also making a slow advance north through the Donetsk region, where the city of Bakhmut is under siege. According to the most recent information provided by Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar, troops have advanced up to a quarter-mile in Bakhmut and a similar distance in the Zaporizhia region, with fighting continuing in the towns of Makarivka, Novodanilivka, and Novoporkrovsk. Although the Institute for the Study of War only saw modest gains for Ukraine, they did report that Ukrainian forces now had majority control of Makharovka in southern Donetsk. However, Russian military bloggers claim that the Ukrainian advance is failing to break through defenses. According to a Telegram post by Alexander Kots, Ukrainian forces have taken heavy casualties, including the destruction of 5 Western-supplied vehicles in just 1 hour, and have been unable to make any progress toward Tokmak, a key point between Ukrainian territory and Melitopol. According to what Kots had written, the Russian side managed to predict the main directions of the offensive of the armed forces of Ukraine in the Zaporozhye direction and prepare well. The situation for the Ukrainian army will become more challenging as the offensive progresses. According to Russian blogger Rybar, fierce fighting is taking place around Makharovka and other towns in the southern Donetsk region, and the Ukrainians have suffered 7,000 casualties so far. Reuters confirmed the independent assessment of the southern Ukrainian advances. Ukrainians were found to have settled in the southeast cities of Storozheve and Nekushin by reporters. Senior fellow at the Munich Security Conference Nico Lang has claimed that the Ukrainians are preparing for a large-scale attack. But he warned against anticipating a decisive victory, such as the retaking of Melitopol or Berdyansk, anytime soon. When the railroads are within range of Ukraine's precision fire, they can cut off supplies and use missiles to really hit hard on logistics and command and control, as Lang put it. As Ukraine makes progress, Russia's morale and military unity are on the decline due to tensions with the private military firm Wagner Group, which was instrumental in the capture of Bakhmut last month. After a shootout with Russian troops in late May near Bakhmut, Wagner Group founder Yevgeny Prigozhin, who has been vocal in his criticism of the Russian Defense Ministry, hinted that he might leave Ukraine. According to Prigozhin, Russian soldiers mined an exit for Wagner and opened fire when the latter tried to defuse the bombs. Prigozhin is also fighting a Kremlin order to have Russian allied armies sign a contract that would put them under more strict supervision. The contract signing deadline, July 1, is described by the British Defence Ministry as a key waypoint in the feud. Russian border towns are being invaded by anti-Putin militants, and the area is being regularly bombed by Ukrainian forces, adding to the strain of the ongoing war on Russia's civilian population. This week, Putin suggested that Russian forces may need to seize additional territory to halt the attacks, but he also left the door open to peace if Western security aid to Ukraine were to be cut off. According to Center for a New American Securities Townsend, Prigozhin's feud has been detrimental to Russian operations. Also, he predicted that Ukraine would take advantage of the Russian military's low morale and bad leadership. Townsend remarked, "There's a lot of problems the Russians have," and added, "They're going up against a very motivated Ukraine force that has a lot of Western equipment." Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff General Mark Milley reported intense fighting and said it was too soon to tell how the operation would pan out. A senior American military officer, however, has stated that low morale amongst the enemy forces is counterproductive, and that Russian leadership is not necessarily coherent. The morale of their troop is low, Milley said at a press conference on Thursday in Belgium. A lot of them don't have a clue what they're doing.